attributes this quote to Miles Davis, but he says all the time, if there's a buzz in the band will put a buzz in the world.
Wow, cool. I mean, that really comes through. It's, I was almost surprised that, because I know what a talented guitarist you are, and I was like, he's not really even playing that much, it's more about the music. It's not about a showcase.
Yeah.
Your ability. And I respect that. I think that's very important, and I think you've articulated that in such a great way that actually, has me thinking a little bit.
I did a good job because I played nonstop the entire 4 hours.
Right. Wow.
I literally just turned me off.
What makes you think to turn yourself down at that specific moment? Like, how do you remember, or how do you make that decision? Are you making those decisions in real time? Because I'd really be interested.
Here's how you do it. Because everything me and Daniel play, I only play jazz vocabulary. He only plays so-called jazz vocabulary, which means you can easily break our phrases into 4 2-bar statements.
Sure.
Just because we're playing at the same time and kind of at the same volume doesn't mean we're not totally interacting.
Of course, I understand, yeah.
What made me turn one thing up and one thing down and ping-pong it for the course of the solo section of a tune.
Right.
These only become tunes if you want to try to put it on a record. It's just what happened.
Sure.
It's kind of no big deal. You know what I mean? It's only a big deal if you want to make a record out of it. So I was just like, oh, here he and I were we were soloing together, which is a thing that we do. It's part of our vocabulary together. But it just doesn't make any sense. You can't hear anything unless you just turn one of them off. It's just on a recording, it just makes no sense. It's like looking at two. It's see how our two things, if our two screens were on top of each other.
Right.
They're not on top of each other in reality. But when you funnel it through a recording, you have to put one thing forward and other things back. So I just remember, I know what he's saying in his statement. I know when he's pausing and I'm responding. So I just emphasize it by making one of us quieter. A lot of what we do are very subtle, little, ancestral instruments that you need to be in an isolation booth with them close mic'd. Right?
Fair.
So, William Parker is a bassist. Right? If you can only write one, you'll see the personnel of the record. I have to write 7 things for what each of us play. Because you can hear them. Right? Mm-hmm. So, William Parker is the bassist. I'm the guitarist. Daniel Carter is the saxophonist. And Juma is the drummer. But William Parker also plays, some indigenous string instruments. He also plays an Indian oboe. He also plays pocket trumpet. Daniel plays tenor, alto, soprano, sax, trumpet, flute, and piano on the record. I play guitar, which is one thing, and then I switch over to percussion, which is madal drum and Tibetan singing bowls, and on that one, a shaker, right? And right. Juma, you can just write percussion, but sometimes he's playing flute. He has these Native American flutes from his, Native American heritage that he uses, right? So when you have such a wide range of instruments that have a broad, they have dramatically different dynamic ranges, you can only do that in the studio if you're mic'd close.
Gotcha, you're right.
We're at Coleman with 2, acoustic jazz ensembles. They're not switching instruments. So all you have to do is just get good mic placement in the room that they're playing in, and they'll be able to play to the room. When you're in the recording studio doing what the Griots Speak does, you can't play to the room. There's no room to play to. You're just on headphones. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? So it's a different...
I get it. Yeah, I understand. But it worked out well. It sounds...
So Daniel is a great... he's... he's the one I spend a lot of time with Juma because we're on the road a lot, right?
Right.
He's the one that he and I are the closest friends. So we just get dinner and hang out, and he comes over here and we jam.
Sure.
We're doing all the, we're choosing what projects we want to do, and we're bringing people in the studio, and we're doing like, the band is really just me and Daniel, right? So we do duo performances, we're making a duo record, and then we add people onto that, right?
Yeah.
The Griots Speak is when it's like all four of us. That's like a thing of its own, right? So that was really started by me and Juma.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting the way that these guys operate, that they have a way of having certain boundaries and parameters within these different subsets of bands that they have.
Yeah, right.
We can all play solo. We can all play as a duo with any of the four of us. We can all play as a trio. We can all play as a quartet. We can bring on a rhythm section. It's just this completely modular ability to adapt to your surroundings. And that's such a survival, such an ancestral, to me, and traditional way of doing something.
Sure.
Because I always came to the realization that if I show up at a gig and the bass player doesn't show up, I'm just going to play solo as if it was what was supposed to happen.
Right, sure. Show must go on kind of thing, right?
It's not even that it must go on, it's what's preventing it from going on.
Right, because you have the tools to do it.